Hi friends, it's Terri Gaines. In this video, I'm going to give assembly tips for my September 2022 Fun Fold project. You receive a packet with all the materials for a full-size card and a miniature card that goes on the instruction postcard when you use my host code or place a qualifying order during the month of September. I also email you a PDF with the supply list for all the materials and product that I use to create these projects. Everything in the packet is cut, scored, and all ready for assembly. There is a little bit of prep work you need to do, and that would be stamping the sentiments. So inside your packet, you have the postcard, and then you have several small pieces that are petal pink and coordinating colors. They are all going to be for the miniature card. Lots of embellishments. Do be careful because there are some brass butterflies, some adhesive sequins. So just be aware when you open up your packet, you're going to have some small pieces to keep track of. The pieces that you need to stamp for the sentiment is a 3-inch white, basic white square. That's going to be your inside sentiment. And then the oval is for a sentiment also, but I also included this looks like probably 3.5 inches by 1.5 or 1 3/4 to stamp the sentiment. If you do not have the double oval punch, you're going to want to stamp a sentiment on here. If you do have it, what you can do is stamp your sentiment on that paper and then punch it out. That's what I like to do. I like to stamp and then punch. That way I can get my best alignment for punching out that image. So you want to stamp this and then stamp this piece, and I've done this ahead of time. The sentiments I'm using for my samples are from the Pansy Patch stamp set, and both the thank you and the happy birthday would fit in the oval. So that's what you want to do ahead of time. The beauty of the video, you can pause the video at any time. If I'm going too fast, just hit the pause until you get caught up to the step, or replay and rewatch the video, the portions you need to. As I mentioned, everything's cut and prepared, and you already know that the project is the Interlock Accordion card. And this is how I've designed the outside. And you open it up and you have this interlocked window, and it might look a little overwhelming, but I'm telling you the truth, it's easier than it looks to create, especially when everything is already prepped for you. And the designer series paper that I used has 2 different prints on it, 1 on each side, so you need to decide which side of the paper you use. I have lots of tips to make this an easy assembly process. So let's get started. So we've got these stamped. I'm going to set those aside. We're going to follow the instructions as we go through this process for assembly, and I'm going to explain everything that I prep for you so you can duplicate this project at home using your product. So our card-based postcards are 4 1/4 by 5.5, and we need 2 of those. I'm using basic black for that. And then we have the accordion panels, which is a 12 by 5.5 piece of cardstock. So let me show you how I prepared this piece. So it's 12 by 5.5, and it is scored at 2 1/2, and at 6, and at 9 1/2. And then you're going to fold this in half, which whatever print you want on the outside, or visible is going to be on the outside. And then what you're going to do is cut a rectangle in these center panels. I'm going to go ahead and fold these panels just so you can see which panels this was cut in. This was already done for you, but I used the rectangle stitch dies, and I used the largest one in the smaller cluster of dies. I placed it right in this center panel, this panel with the fold, equal spacing here and here to the fold, equal on the top and bottom. I ran this through my die cutting machine, and it will cut out both layers at the very same time for you. You might have to go back and forth a couple times just to make sure it's cutting all the way through, because it has those stitched lines in there too that you want to make sure they cut. So once you get this cut out, then you need to decide which side you want for the visible side. I'm going to keep this darker print. So once we have this, what we're going to do is we're going to score this first fold to be a valley fold. So we're going to fold this to be a valley, second's a mountain, and then the next one is a valley. What we're going to do is adhere these panels, each one of these panels, on this designer series paper. I find it best to bring in a tool to make that easier for you. You can bring in a stamparatus for the corner here, or you can bring in a simply scoring tool, and that seems to be my go-to, is a simply scoring tool. And we're going to put the adhesive, just, it doesn't matter which side we start with, one of these panels. So I am going to use the Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to apply it just on this panel. With the folds of these panels folded like this, I'm going to push it up to this wall and over to this wall and hold it in place. I'm not going to let go of it, and you got to make sure that adhesive is kind of sticky. Then I'm going to take my postcard, run it up against the wall also, so it's up against this wall and hits the wall on the left, and bring that down into place, and then it's going to get my piece of paper adhered where it is. It is sometimes hard to get these cut the same, so after I get this card all assembled, it might be, and you might need to do it your packet. I just got it a hair too long, that designer series paper. But in saying that, because I lined this edge up to the corner, I'm going to turn it this way and line it up here, so my excess is always on that side. I apologize for any of the packets that are just like mine, where you're just a tad bit longer for the designer series paper. So back to the assembly. So we've got this one on. We're putting the folds up against one of the walls, the other end up to the wall. We're going to hold this down, place this, I'm going to switch hands. I'm going to place this against the wall, bring it to the other wall, and bring that down. And as I mentioned, the excess is on the same side instead of being on one side and the other side. So just be cautious of that. And then when you're all done, you can just trim that off. I'm going to keep my assembly. We're going to pretend that it's all the right size, and I'm just going to keep the video going. So that's a really quick way to get that adhered. I'm going to leave the simply scoring in place for assembling this piece into place. So this is what I'm calling the center mechanic piece. It's 10 inches by 3 1/4. It's already scored for you at 1/2, and that's going to be a mountain fold. And then it's scored for you at 1 3/4, at 5. You're going to be a mountain. Then we're going to have the 8 1/4 and the 9 1/2. So we're going to have kind of like one of my team members said, it kind of looks like a bird, and that's really what it looks like. So when it's in this fashion, we're going to put our tear and tape, our strong adhesive, on the top side of these end small panels. So I'm going to just leave this simply scoring in place. The tear and tape is perfect for this because it is a strong adhesive. And what I really like about it is it's got this backing on it, so the adhesive stays covered until you release the backing, so you don't have to worry about it getting adhered in the wrong location. So we're going to have our adhesive on both of those panels. Now we're going to adhere this mechanics to this panel. Now this pattern does have a top and a bottom. The top of the flowers are here. There's no top or bottom to this piece, so it doesn't matter which way I start. But I'm going to fold the first panel, which has adhesive, in the second panel down, so I'm using this fold. So I fold this down. I'm not going to take this off right away. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this fold while I hold this up to the wall. I'm going to then take the fold up to the wall and then bring that down into place. That's going to get it to adhere in the correct location that we would need it to be. So I'm going to repeat that with taking the tape, the backing off. Hold this in place. Be sure you hold that up against the wall. And what you could do is, I can give you the dimension. It's going to be 1 1/8 on the top and 1 1/8 on the bottom. to get you equal spacing here and here. That gives you the right location to put this mechanics. Now we're going to run it through the window. And we've got a really simple way of attaching the next piece. We don't need this any longer. We're going to fold this. We're going to fold, now did you see I ran it through the window? I took this end and went through the two windows. Then I'm going to fold this flat, fold the Designer Series paper flat, fold this piece flat, so I have the two panels up. And this is how the card's going to close. So now I can take my backing off, and you could do the same for your card. Take the backing off, close this card flat, and now we have our accordion. That's how easy that mechanical piece is. Now it's embellishing the card. So to embellish the card, why don't we start with the inside? This piece that we stamped is going to be, it's a 3-inch square, is going to be on this panel. Inside your packet, you have another 3-inch square that I ran through the, with the painted texture folder. This is a fun folder to use. It's a 3D image. You place it, your cardstock between the folder, run it through your die cutting machine. You get this fun textured painted texture image or texture on it. So what you can do with all of this is you can actually fold this and fold this piece flat. It won't go flat all together, but you can fold it down flat and assemble your pieces. So you just got to work with one side at a time, then rotate it over here and do this side. So what I'm going to do is attach these first. And all the sentiments are on the inside of this design. But with the supplies that are in your packet, you are definitely able to embellish it different than I have for my samples. So I've got those two pieces attached. Now we have the image that was stamped, the sentiment. You've got the other portion of that oval punch with this scalped edge. I'm going to advise you not to attach any image on this piece with adhesive. I'm sorry, you need adhesive with dimensionals. We're not going to add any bulk to this. I think I am going to bring in my craft pad here. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to put this down here. I have, with black cardstock, I have the bow punch. I used this one. And then with gold cardstock, I used that, cut that out. So we're going to add those two pieces to be embellished, and they're going to be behind the oval. So what I'm going to do is apply my adhesive to the oval, and then I'm going to just kind of place that in place and place that like so. Put a little bit more adhesive over that, and then I'm going to place this down. The one thing that, now I don't have any mini glue dots behind here, and you definitely could, or maybe that was a suggestion that we should have done that, just to make sure that they stay in place. So I'm just going to pop one behind that top element, and you do want to make sure you don't have any exposed adhesive. You're going to close your card and then it won't open correctly. So that's how I'm going to decorate the inside of the card. For the outside, the pieces you have to decorate are a basic black that's cut 1/8 of an inch shorter in height and width, just to give you a textured image. And I don't know about you, but that's bothering me that that Designer Series paper is over the top like that, but I'll have to trim that off. So I'm putting this on. Then I've used the Flourishing, Forever Flourishing dies, this large die, and with white cardstock, and that's going to be on the top. What I did do for this piece was I took the adhesive sheets, I put it on the one side, it's double sided adhesive. You peel off a backing, put it on one side of the cardstock. When it's on the bottom, you're going to put your die in the top, run it through. So you then have a backing piece that you can peel off, and always start at the stem and then that way all the leaf pieces come off. If you start at the top, you just get, they don't come off, the backing doesn't come off as easy. But now this is adhesive on the entire piece. So now what you can do is just place that down, and now that is all embellished. And then what I'm going to do is I already have a bow tied for you. This is the 1/4 inch gold shimmer ribbon. I'm going to take that and attach that with the mini glue dot. And the last piece is to embellish your card. In your packet, you should have 2 brass butterflies. You have a small one and a larger one, and I should have put all those aside. I commented about them, but I just kind of left them with everything. So I'm going to put the large butterfly on the outside, and then you can put your small one on the outside also if you would like. I'm going to actually put my small one on the inside. And that is the assembly of the Interlock accordion card, your full-size card. So we always start with the large card before we do the smaller card because we have smaller pieces to work with. This is just an extra piece that got in the packet. That's not needed for anything. So I'm going to just, if you happen to have something like that in your packet, it wasn't needed. You have some adhesive sequence you want to keep track of. And for embellishments, we have macaron. Here we have one of the large flowers and small flowers from the Flowers and Leaves punch. And you have your miniature postcards, your miniature designer series paper, and your miniature center mechanics. So what I am going to do is just show you how to assemble this. So this is already cut for you. You can use the striped side. I think it might be best to use the floral side, but that's a personal choice. These extra folds are going to be valley folds. And if you want it the reverse, then you just rotate it and get the rotation of those folds. I'm going to bring this back into place here, and what I'm going to do is put some adhesive on just this panel. Now remember, the folds of these panels go towards the wall, and put it in the corner so you can bring the postcard to the corner, and that's going to get one of the 2 sides attached. You're going to turn it over like this, just fold it all flat, put your adhesive on just this top panel again, and put it in the corner so you can put this in the corner, and that's going to help get your placement like so. For this mechanic piece, you're going to fold it to be mountain, mountain, valley, mountain, mountain. And you can use your bone folder to crease these, and we could have done that, maybe should have done that on the larger card too. But sometimes I just burnish it well with my fingers, and that works well. So what we want is adhesive on the smaller tabs on the outside, and we're going to use a strong adhesive. I'm going to use the tear tape, and we're going to put a piece on both sides. And this is just a repeat of the larger card, but in a smaller form. So we have a visual in our for our postcard instructions to remind us what our accordion or interlock accordion card looks like. So the small panel with adhesive and the next panel get tucked underneath. That fold is going to go up against the wall, and it's about a 1/4 inch spacing on the top and the bottom. So you attach one at a time, run the next one through the window, and then you're going to fold this. Fold the fold back to the edge of the card, fold the designer series paper down, fold the other part of the center mechanic piece down, fold that down flat, take the adhesive backing off, and then close the card, and that will get it all assembled in the right location. We are done with the Simply Scoring or your Stamparatus, whichever one you're using. Now the rest of the pieces are for embellishing the card. So we have our 2 white squares. If you wanted to, you can stamp a sentiment on the one. I'm going to leave it blank. It's going to be on my postcard, so it's okay if I leave it blank. I'm going to take the other one and adhere it over here. And there we go. Now the small flower is going to be for the inside. I'm going to cut one petal off just so this is a little bit shorter. I'm going to attach these with mini glue dots. So I'm going to start out by putting a couple mini glue dots on the back of the little flower. And then I'm going to just place this, and then I'm going to add another mini glue dot. I would suggest the inside embellishments are not popped up with dimensionals just because of the added bulk. And you can decide if you want, I'm going to put it going off this way. There are two different adhesive sequence, and one is larger than the other, and these are in the holiday catalog or the mini catalog. I'm going to put the small one here. That's the inside of our card. The outside is going to be with this designer series paper. I failed to tell you the designer series paper, but it's all in your PDF that I emailed you. This designer series paper that I'm using for the miniature card is from the Design a Daydream, which is a host reward. You can use $18 of your host rewards towards this. It is a pack of paper that you get 48 sheets, 4 each of 12 different double-sided prints. And that's for this one. In this card, I used the Perfectly Pencil Designer Series paper, which is a pretty floral design on one side, and then a fun design on the other side. There are 6 different prints here. Oops, one was hidden. So that's the designer series paper that I used. So now for the outside of the card, I'm going to use the larger of the 2 flowers, and this can be popped up with a dimensional. This is the outside of your card, and what I'm going to do is first I'm going to attach the greenery with a mini glue dot. So I'm just going to put a mini glue dot on here and attach that, and then I'm going to put a dimensional that goes over it. And what I think I'm going to do is trim that off, and I'm going to squeeze in a second dimensional right there. And then I'm going to put this on the front of the card, and then you just decide which direction you want it to go, and then you have a larger sequence that will go in the center of that flower. So that is the little miniature card. This is intended to be a visual, so next time you want to make this technique, this fun fold, you have a little visual of what this fun fold card is. So this is for your instruction card, and this is the Interlock accordion card, and here is a sample of your full-size card. I hope you enjoyed this fun fold project. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Take care and happy creating!